You know, there's something I bet we've all done at one time or another. Finished a bottle of water or soda, rinsed it out and thought, I'll just refill this and use it again. It seems thrifty, even eco-friendly, right? Well, what if I told you that reusing plastic bottles might not be as harmless as it seems? In fact, after hearing what I'm about to share, you might never want to reuse one again. Now, I'm not here to scare you, just to share some important information so you can make the best choices for your health. After all, at our age, taking care of ourselves becomes even more precious. So, let's talk about what really happens when we reuse plastic bottles, and why it might be time to switch things up. First off, let's talk about what these bottles are made of. Most disposable plastic bottles are designed for single use. That's right, they were never meant to be washed and refilled over and over. The plastic they're made from, usually called PET, which is polyethylene terephthalate, but don't worry, no need to remember that, can start to break down over time. And when it does, it can release tiny amounts of chemicals into whatever you're drinking. Now you might be thinking, well, a little plastic never hurt anyone. And you're right. In small amounts, it's probably not an immediate danger. But here's the thing. Over time, those tiny amounts can add up. Some studies suggest that reused plastic bottles may leach chemicals like antimony or even microplastics into your water, especially if they've been exposed to heat, like sitting in a hot car or being washed in hot water. While researchers are still studying the long-term effects, why take the risk when there are safer options? Speaking of heat, that brings me to my next point. Have you ever left a plastic bottle in your car on a warm day and taken a sip later, only to notice the water tastes off? That's not just your imagination. Heat speeds up the breakdown of plastic, which means those chemicals can transfer into your drink even faster. So, if you've been reusing bottles and leaving them in warm places, it might be time to rethink that habit. Now I know some of you might be saying, but I always wash my bottles. Doesn't that make it safe? Well, here's the catch. Washing can actually make things worse. Scrubbing a plastic bottle, especially with hot water or a rough sponge, can create tiny scratches in the surface. And those scratches? They're the perfect hiding spots for bacteria. Unlike glass or stainless steel, plastic is porous, meaning germs can cling to it more easily. So even if it looks clean, it might not be as hygienic as you think. But don't worry, I'm not just here to tell you what not to do. In the next part, we'll talk about simple, affordable alternatives that are safer and just as convenient. Because staying hydrated is important, and I want you to do it in the healthiest way possible. So let's keep going. You're doing great just by being here and learning more. Now that we've covered why reusing plastic bottles might not be the best idea, let's talk about what you can do instead. Because the good news is, there are plenty of easy, budget-friendly options that'll keep you hydrated without the worry. You know, when I first learned about the risks of reusing plastic bottles, my first thought was, well, what am I supposed to use instead? And I'll bet some of you are wondering the same thing. The good news? There are plenty of better options, many of which you might already have at home. Let's start with one of the simplest swaps, glass bottles or jars. Now I know what you might be thinking. Glass? Isn't that heavy?
What if I drop it? And sure, glass can be a little heavier than plastic, but it's also one of the safest materials for storing drinks.
Unlike plastic, glass doesn't leach chemicals. It doesn't hold on to odors or flavors, and it's super easy to clean. Plus, if you've ever saved a mason jar or a glass juice bottle, you've already got a perfect reusable container. Just give it a good wash with warm, soapy water and you're good to go. Now, if you're worried about breaking glass, another fantastic option is stainless steel. These bottles are lightweight, durable, and they'll keep your water cold or your tea hot for hours. You might have seen hikers or gym goers carrying them, but trust me, they're just as great for everyday use. Look for ones that are labeled food grade or BPA free to be extra safe, and the best part? They last years. So you'll save money in the long run by not buying disposable bottles over and over. But maybe you're thinking, I don't want to spend money on a new bottle. What else can I do? Well, here's a little secret. You don't have to buy anything new if you don't want to. If you've got a clean, sturdy water pitcher at home, just fill that up and keep it in the fridge. Pour yourself a fresh glass whenever you're thirsty, and you've got an easy, plastic-free way to stay hydrated. Now, I know some of you might still be attached to the convenience of grabbing a plastic bottle when you're out and about. And hey, I get it, sometimes you forget your reusable one at home or you're in a rush. If that happens, no guilt. But here's a small tip. If you do buy a plastic bottle, try not to reuse it too many times. Use it once, recycle it properly, and next time, maybe toss a reusable bottle in your bag before you head out. Small steps still make a big difference. And while we're on the topic of being out and about, let's talk about cleaning your reusable bottles. Whether you're using glass, stainless steel, or even a thicker, BPA-free plastic one, yes, those exist. Keeping them clean is key. A quick rinse isn't always enough, especially if you've had juice or tea in there. So about once a week, give your bottle a good wash with warm, soapy water. And if it has a straw or a lid with crevices, a small brush can help get into those tricky spots. This way, you'll keep bacteria at bay and your water will taste fresh. Now, I've had some folks tell me, but I reuse my plastic bottles because I don't want to waste. And I love that mindset. Being mindful of waste is so important. But here's the thing. The real waste isn't tossing a single-use bottle after one use. It's buying them in the first place. If you switch to a reusable bottle, you'll actually reduce waste because you won't be throwing away or trying to endlessly reuse flimsy plastic ones. So, let's recap what we've covered so far. Glass bottles and stainless steel bottles are safer, longer-lasting options. You don't need to spend money. Repurposing jars or using a pitcher works too. If you do use plastic bottles occasionally, try not to reuse it too many times. Keeping your reusable bottles clean is simple and important. And in the next part, we'll talk about one more big reason to ditch reused plastic bottles, something that might surprise you. Plus, I'll share a few bonus tips to make staying hydrated easier than ever. Because here's the truth. Small changes today can lead to a healthier tomorrow. And you're already on your way just by learning more. So let's keep going. You're doing great. You know, we've talked about why reusing plastic bottles isn't the best idea. And we've gone over some great alternatives. Glass, stainless steel, even repurposing what you already have at home. But there's one more thing I want to share with you. Something that might really surprise you. It's about what scientists are discovering when they take a closer look at plastic. Really close. See, when plastic breaks down, it doesn't just disappear. Instead, it turns into tiny, almost invisible particles called microplastics. These little specks are so small that they can end up in our water, our food, even the air we breathe. And here's the thing. Researchers are finding them everywhere, from the deepest oceans to the highest mountains. But what does that mean for us? Well, studies are still uncovering the full effects, but early research suggests that microplastics might interfere with our health in ways we're just beginning to understand. Some scientists worry that they could affect digestion, hormone balance, even our immune systems over time. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you, because the truth is, we're all exposed to microplastics in some way, whether we reuse bottles or not. But here's the good news. We can reduce our exposure, and one of the easiest ways is by choosing safer, reusable options instead of old plastic bottles. Think of it like this. If you had a leaky pipe in your house, you wouldn't just keep mopping up the water forever. You'd fix the pipe. Switching away from reused plastic bottles is like fixing that pipe. It's a simple change that can make a real difference for your health in the long run. Now, I know change can feel overwhelming sometimes, especially when old habits are comfortable. Maybe you've been reusing the same plastic bottle for years, and the idea of switching seems like a hassle. But let me ask you this. What's one small step you could take today? Maybe it's digging out that old mason jar from the back of the cupboard. Maybe it's treating yourself to a nice stainless steel bottle. They really do keep drinks cold all day. Or maybe it's just deciding that the next time you buy water, you'll recycle the bottle instead of refilling it. Every little choice adds up. And the best part? Once you make the switch, you won't even miss those old plastic bottles. In fact, you might wonder why you didn't do it sooner. So let's wrap this up with 3 simple actions you can take right now. Find your new go-to bottle. Whether it's glass, stainless steel, or even a BPA-free reusable plastic one, look for the recycling symbol number 2, number 4, or number 5 and pick something you'll enjoy using every day. Give your old plastic bottles a proper goodbye. Thank them for their service. Hey, they held your water all this time. Then recycle them. Spread the word. If you have friends or family who still reuse plastic bottles, share what you've learned. You might just help them make a healthier choice too. Remember, this isn't about being perfect. It's about making better choices, one step at a time. And you? You're already ahead of the game just by being here and learning more. So, here's to your health, to staying hydrated the safe way, and to all the little changes that add up to a big difference. I'm so glad we had this chat today. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you already made the switch to a reusable bottle? What's your favorite kind? Drop a comment below and let's keep the conversation going. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like this video, share, and subscribe, as well as hit the bell icon beside it to get notified of our next video for more tips to live your healthiest, happiest life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Here's to fresh, clean sips and a brighter, healthier tomorrow. And look for fresh videos every week.